Good day, beautiful souls, and welcome to the tribe. It's another Teatime Tuesday prediction update as we review the past week's events, craziness going across the globe, and how they may relate to past predictions and prophecy. And while we're here, of course, we're going to help feed those prediction addictions. On today's show, first, we're going to look at this week's incoming transits and energies and how they're going to affect us personally, how we can take advantage of them, and of course, how they're going to affect global events as well. In past predictions, we saw the spirits told us about airport disruptions, big airport disruptions, airports being closed down for multiple different reasons. And just over the past week in Jacksonville, Florida, the airport was closed down for quite some time after a fire caused quite a bit of damage. Airports in Russia were shut down temporarily due to conflict concerns. That includes Pakistan, India, and many other places that we see all this happening with these airports. And this goes back even a few months ago when I first predicted this in the beginning of the year with the Heathrow Airport and what happened to that big shutdown that happened earlier this year. So, what's going on with airplanes and airports? Transportation in general. Transportation's a big subject today. After my visions of a bridge collapse came into fruition in Baltimore, Maryland, you'll remember, how could we forget that one? I spoke of seeing more issues with bridges, and even just recently I saw a vision of a ship hitting a bridge again. I didn't see the bridge going down, but I saw the ship hitting a bridge. And in New York over the weekend, that's exactly what happened when a Mexican Navy ship, that I believe was doing some kind of performance, slammed into the Brooklyn Bridge, sending two poor souls to the heavenly realms. Very unfortunate. This aligns with both water and bridge incidents together, both which we warned about in the beginning of the year. There's a lot more to come with that too. I'm going to explain exactly what and why today, why this is such a big focus. Now we are also being told that the previous president, Joe Biden, has been diagnosed with a rare form of the big C in the prostate and now in the bones. And could he have actually had this for quite some time, friends? And maybe they're just already telling us, just now telling us. Are they actually preparing us for a bigger announcement to come around Joe Biden, which would actually align with my past prediction of seeing 3 presidential funerals in a row? And Spirit never said how far apart, but we had Jimmy Carter, Joe Biden. Who else? Who do you think could it be? I mean, it would be obvious. Carter was, of course, obvious. Joe Biden wasn't so obvious, but looks kind of obvious now. Could it be somebody else? And how far apart will they be? So many things, friends, to discuss today, including Comey's threat to the president, President Trump, the rare and massive dust storm that swept across Chicago, Illinois, and also the O'Keefe media's leak of Epstein footage. Interesting. And so much more. On this episode 167 of Tuesday's Prediction Addiction Fix, friends. So get that tea kettle ready, get it whistling, because it's Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time, baby. Here we are heading towards the final week of May 2025, and things have actually sort of been quieted down a little bit, just a little bit, friends. Indeed, enough for us to take a deep breath, right? And indeed, this is the quiet before the big storms start rushing in, and I don't mean just storms like weather storms, but just storms across the globe. The energy over the past weekend seemed to have lightened up a little bit. Seemed to for me. I got a lot done on Saturday. Whole lot. So the energy definitely lightened up. I have more energy this past few days than I had last week, especially around that full moon. That really took out some of our energy, didn't it? Brought up emotions for some people, especially if you've got Scorpio lying somewhere in your chart, especially if it's your sun rising or moon signs. But it lightened up a little bit. The energy's a little bit higher now, so you should be able to get some more things done this week before the next round of energies. And even the sun quieted down just a little bit briefly. Not anymore, but it did quiet down briefly. And now it's back up again. Indeed, the good Lord is literally finally giving us all just a little bit of time to take a deep breath. Breathe in the air, friends. Breathe in the air. And we're going to need this rest, again, before these huge storms come rolling in the coming months. We also pulled out of that intense full moon in Scorpio energy. By the time the weekend rolled around, like I said, I definitely felt more energized by the weekend. And more opportunity again to breathe. Now, today, we begin to receive this burst of intellectual energies, friends, bringing in communication breakthroughs and social expansion. Because today, the sun enters into Gemini, March 20th. And actually, today's March 19th, because I am recording this. It's just after 4:15 p.m. here in Sedona, Arizona. Got to get this recorded the day before so that it processes and I can get it out on time. That's the goal. That is the goal. So yeah, the sun enters Gemini. This is a great time, friends, to get out and do some networking, to share your ideas and explore new ideas, and to embrace, of course, versatility. It's a great time to be versatile. Then this trend, this is going to be when we see big trends around social media, communication industries, and even travel industries. We're going to see big trends exploding around those areas. We're also going to see a surge around media activity, which to me indicates that likely there's going to be a series of major events and major things happening that's going to cause this media frenzy to begin. And what can it be? I think it's going to be lots of things, actually. But this energy is telling us media frenzy is on our doorsteps. It's going to be interesting how that plays out. The media is going to be very, very busy. Maybe they're not going to be able to keep up. I prefer independent media myself. This is also a perfect time to stay very curious and to be willing to adapt and explore new ideas, new connections. It's all about renewal. Even though we are in that 9 vibration this year, again, of endings and such, it doesn't rule out where you lie personally in your astrology and numerology. Now, coming up on the master number day, 22, May 22nd to be exact, we have Venus in Aries trine Leo, which can actually be a very beautiful and a very supportive energy that comes in on the 22nd. And this will give us a boost in our love lives, give us a boost in our creativity, can even give a boost in leadership and relationships, and even the realm of art. And art is a pretty wide range, but definitely brings that energy in as well. This can also truly boost your confidence when it comes to love or getting out and going on new creative endeavors or going out to date on the dating scene. It's time to really express your affection and your artistic talent and do so very boldly and do so very beautifully. Do not have any fear about expressing your creativity coming up, especially the 22nd and moving forward from that point forward, because this alignment is also telling you to say yes when it comes to passion and when it comes to expression. So express yourself, friends, and do it fearlessly. Fearless creativity. Take some risks. Take some risk when it comes to art. Take some risk when it comes to love. Now's the time. Before we go into the heavy energies, very end of June into July and August. We have a lot coming into alignment just over this coming week between now and the end of the month. Because we also have Saturn moving into Aries on the 24th. And that's going to welcome in some really serious new beginnings. This is a two and a half year cycle. And this is going to bring focus when it comes to leadership, which we already are seeing a focus on. So imagine when this alignment rings in and this transit rings in. Personal sovereignty and lots of courageous responsibility. Do you have courageous responsibility? This transit's also going to emphasize on personal responsibilities. Leadership, again, leadership's just a big focus. That's why in today's subject is, again, the fall of leaders, which we continue to see, but there's so many more that need to go. We all can agree on that one. And this is also the time that we'll see this initiation of long-term projects, whether they're long-term governmental or military projects, or they're your own long-term projects. That would be the time to start them, friends. So not much time left, the 24th. So if you got something long-term project to launch, just wait until next week and get that baby launched. We're also going to see global leaders facing all these new tests. Like they're going to be tested. Like President Trump. He's going to be tested big time. He's going to be tested by China. He's going to be tested by Russia. And even when Russia calls for some peace and they have an agreement, Russia's going to go back on it. You watch. They cannot be trusted, says the spirits. Especially being that they just want to kind of put a knife into the gut of the United States for whatever reason. And they're going to bring in new social political movements when this alignment and transit takes form. And a call for more personal freedom. And a lot of people, we are seeing that. We want our freedom. We're not as free as we think we are. And some not free at all. So we're also going to witness this strengthening when it comes to, again, not just freedom, but self-governance. During this time, own your goals, friends. Own your goals, own your dreams, and get out there, take some disciplined action. You'll be glad you did. Take advantage of these transits. When we do, it can make our life grow. It opens up new doors and new portals in our lives. But if we sit back and we ignore these transits and ignore the energies that come in and don't take advantage of them, life doesn't do anything but just repeat itself. The same patterns over and over and over again. I don't know about you, but I get tired of taking the same route all the time. I like taking a new route, the scenic route. So we're also going to see global leaders, again, facing all these new tests. So it's going to be interesting how they are going to be tested, whether it be through the economy, whether they're tested because of national emergencies like weather events that cause national emergencies. And remember my visions for 2025. The 9 vibration is all about humanitarian efforts. And we haven't seen a whole lot of that yet this year. Some, we see it with, trying to launch humanitarian efforts to feed the people in Gaza, which needs to be done a little bit more quicker, in my opinion. Too many starving people. There should be nobody starving on this planet. There's enough food for everybody. But there's got to be an event that's going to take place. And we know, it's in the predictions, that will cause humanitarian efforts. This is one of the ways that leaders are going to be tested, and put to the test and right there in public eye. Now, Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, is going to return home on the 25th of May. And this is a time where our thoughts are going to speed up quite a bit. Innovations are going to flourish quite a bit, and new collaborations are going to come to life. This energy is very, very supportive energy of both when it comes to learning and when it comes to social interactions. So get out there, friends. Take a class. Read a new subject. If you like to read books, pick up change subjects. Read something new or different. Get out there, interact with others by the end of this month. It's a great time to open up to new community, new relationships, new friendships. Share your ideas with others. Launch your projects, whatever those projects. It's like, spring. We're halfway through spring. Summer's on the 21st of June. Winter for you all down there in the Southern Hemisphere. So this is the time to launch things and get things done. So launch those projects, friends. And communicate. Get out there, communicate, and do so very boldly and brightly. Because once Gemini returns home with Mercury on the 25th, that's when all this is going to kick in. Take advantage of it. And then lastly, we also have the following day, the powerful and wonderful new moon energy flowing in on the 26th, also in the sign of Gemini. So this is a fantastic time, as all new moons are. They're all about manifesting and planting our seeds to the future. But this is all about manifesting your bold new visions. Come up with new visions of your future. And again, all new moons are about planting the seeds. This particular new moon is good for planting seeds around communication, education, again, whether you have a vision of learning something new, taking a class, technology, relationships, and even travel. So plan some travel. Come up with some, visions of travel. Even if you don't have the money, hold the vision that in the future we're going here and this is going to happen. Come, no matter what, I don't know how, but it's going to happen. Convince yourself. That's one of the rules in manifesting and making things happen. So make it happen, friends. Get out there and make it happen. I know you will. I know you will. Now, I would tell you personally, do what you want. But personally, because Virgo Sun and Mercury retrograde is ruled by Mercury or rules over Gemini and Virgo, so I won't be traveling between July 17th and August 11th when we're in that direct heavy energy. Short trips are good, but I mean like distant trips. I would save them for after August 11th, which is when I'm saving my trip for, after August 11th. So during this coming new moon on the 26th, be sure to get out and set your intentions, friends, especially again around learning, even writing. If you wanted to write something new, that energy is all about writing. Write, whether you want to write a book, write a story, or just write anything. Start a journal. If you wanted to start a journal and you haven't, do it on the new moon. The new moon will help you dedicate yourself to continuing with your writing. Or maybe you wanted to do a speaking event or some kind of speaking or some type of networking. This new moon opens us up for all these opportunities, and it's all about opening up a new chapter. But you just have to be willing to turn the page. Beautiful friends and beautiful tribe, I just want to take a moment to welcome you back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. This is Tuesday's Tea Time, where we talk about world events, energies that are coming in, predictions, and so forth. And if you want accurate predictions, prophecy, and truth, and you're new here and you want to vibe with our awesome tribe, be sure to smash that there subscribe, the bell, and all so that you get notifications. And know you can catch me every single week. Usually on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, depending on where in the world you reside and depending if there's a glitch. Sometimes we can't get uploaded till Wednesday. Or it's too late by Tuesday and we just wait till Wednesday. But regardless, every week. And if I don't show up on your feed, make sure you go directly to the channel. Make sure you're still subscribed, because mysteries happen where people are suddenly unsubscribed. Click that thumbs up love button, because that'll get more of this type of content onto your feed, and it also helps this tribe to grow. Down below in the description, you'll find the links to all my social media, including the free newsletter. Sign up for the free newsletter. Make sure when you do, just open it up below in that link. Top corner, you'll see the other link to sign up to the newsletter. When you do, you will get an email to confirm your subscription. If you don't get that and don't confirm, you're never going to get the newsletter. And then you're going to want to add that email address to your contacts so that it shows up and doesn't end up in your spam folder every month, like it does for many. Also, a big thank you to all the supporters of this platform and the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit platform and the contributors to this channel that make this free content possible for everybody else. I thank you with infinite love and gratitude. Let us move on to episode number 167 of Tea Time, baby. More interesting and wild events have played out over the past week, and several visions and predictions also coming into fruition. Starting with this first one, with my vision of seeing a ship slam into a bridge. Some of you may recall that first prediction of the bridge collapse that I made. When was that, 2023? I lose track of time. Which soon after became a reality in Baltimore, Maryland. And after that, we tuned in and Spirit kept showing us more things revolved around bridges, ports, and so forth. And it was just not that long ago, just recently, where I saw the vision of a ship hitting a bridge. I didn't see the bridge go down, but I saw a ship hitting the bridge or heading towards the bridge. And over the weekend, a Mexican Navy ship. And many people were like, what's a Mexican Navy ship doing in New York City? Well, I believe it was a celebration of some sort, actually, because they were performing on that ship. As you see here, the ship slammed right into the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City. And look closely. And we see this is obviously some type of a performance. You see the people lined up on the poles, the mosques or whatever you call them things that go across. See all the folks lined up above, on the sails, up above the sails. Keep in mind that even they are all performers, all the way up to the very, very top as it's about to slam and hit into the bridge, snagging the poles and plunging one performer that I could see in one of the videos, two of them actually, plunging them into the cold waters below. Horrible. And how could you not see that that was about to happen? Like you're heading right towards it. It's wild. A very sad tragedy. In which we were first told, first stories I heard is that they lost power. But you see in the video that the power is still on. The ship's still lit up. They also seem like they're still performing. as if they don't know that they're about. So I don't know if their backs were turned. It might have appeared that their backs could have been turned. I'm not sure. I'm sure someone will confirm in the comments. And so maybe they didn't see themselves heading right towards that bridge. The people on the poles I'm talking about. Obviously, whoever was driving the boat knew they were heading that way. Because the second story we heard is that they lost their steering ability. Who knows? Who knows? I know the captain knows. And how could you not see that you were heading towards the bridge? And I have no doubt that the captain thought that he had enough clearance. That's what my feeling was. He felt like he had enough clearance. He was good to go. And obviously, he did not have enough clearance. And with those performers' lives all being put at risk. That'd be so scary. I mean, I'm sure those people aren't afraid of heights if they're up that high. Could you imagine being up that high and being afraid of heights and that happened? Oh, my Lord. I'm not quite fond of very high places, even though I climb the high rocks here. Sometimes I just don't look down. That's the best thing you can do. So here's another video clip and a view from the rescue efforts being made. And you'll see that there are still performers hanging on for their dear lives onto those sails and onto those poles. All while it's being reported that, again, 2 did not make it after this collision with the bridge, sadly, and prayers to their families. And thank goodness this wasn't worse. It could have been worse. The bridge could have became unstable, but it does remain stable. And the incident also goes back to past predictions for 2025 revolved around both water. Remember, I said water was going to be a big focus this year, and water incidents around boats, bridges, dams, and so forth. And there's literally so much more to come. We're not even halfway through the year yet, friends. And it's usually always the second half of the year, right after March, of course, and spring, that becomes the most intense. So July, August, and November. The months that I called out in the beginning of the year were March, July, and November. So lots more to come. You know, here in the northern hemisphere, it's boating and water season. So people are going to be out on the waters. That's part of some of the predictions that I have coming out in a couple days. I have a top 6 predictions, very thorough, and we'll go over this very, very thoroughly. So keep an eye out for that video. I also just did a channeled prediction video, and many people missed that. Not sure why, but go back and check that out from last week. Because, again, there's much more to come when it comes to the waters. Also, when it does come to the waters, as I mentioned last week, this is going to highlight plumbing issues, your washer, your dishwasher, broken fire hydrants, and the list goes on and on. Anything that involves water. And I told you about my unfortunate septic issue and the replacement of all the sewer lines beneath the house. What a disaster that was. And the bathroom flood. But lo and behold, after the plumbers left, all of a sudden the bathroom sink started dripping and leaking. And then I couldn't turn off the water to fix it. So water stuff, friends. Water stuff. It's happening. Sometimes when I make these predictions, I don't ever think about them hitting home. I put this stuff out, and what Spirit shows me, I share it with you, and then I unplug and go about my life. But like, how do you, because I see things that aren't always, peaches and cream. That's for sure. So when it comes to anything with water, for, examples I gave you already, be aware. And if you need your washer, dishwasher, get it all before June 30th hits and we step into the pre-shadow Mercury retrograde when you don't want to buy things that are electronic and motorized or anything that needs to be put together. You'll regret it in most cases. Shall we move? In past predictions, I stated that there would be airport disruptions and even had visions and predictions revolved around airports being closed due to multiple different reasons. Over the past week, we've seen multiple airport closures, and all throughout the month of May, really, all across the globe. Starting with the airport, the most recent, the airport in Jacksonville, Florida, which was closed down for quite some time after this fire that occurred in the parking garage, causing quite a bit of damage and a whole bunch of cancellations. And there was at least 24 airports closed down in India, and another in Pakistan due to their mutual conflict with each other. And most have since reopened. I think they reopened on the 15th or something, the ones in India. So they only just opened. Whereas there's still one in Pakistan that remains to be closed until I think June 5th or June 6th or something I was reading. So airports closed in Russia due to the huge drone invasion that happened there. And remember my visions I had in the past of drone invasions? Yeah. And even the Mumbai airport was closed for 6 hours due to maintenance, which is good. Maintenance is good. We'll wait for the maintenance. It's the other closures that are more concerning. And we saw what happened a few months back at the Heathrow airport. If I pronounce that right, Heathrow? I believe that's correct. So, and we said this in the beginning of the year. And now we're in May, and May was definitely a major month of airport issues, airport issues. Whereas, back in March, it was airplanes, all the crashes and all the incidents, which are still happening. And there's more planes in the sky now than ever. That accounts for something as well. Spirit just said in my ear, more plane stuff will happen, especially in July. I told you that July, it's going to be hot. It's going to be a hot July, even in the northern hemisphere. So, of course, there is and will continue to be more issues when it comes to all forms of travel. With the waters being a huge highlight this year, this brings boats, ships, and everything on the water and under the water into this energy of grave danger. Grave risks, not danger, but risks. It's more of a risk to do it in many cases. I see tunnels. I had visions of tunnels being flooded from severe storm systems, subway tunnels, and other underground transportation systems. Spirit, I just heard this in my ear just now. Sydney, Australia. So I don't know. I assume you have subways in Sydney. I'm sure our friends in Australia will let us know. Some kind of floods there. If it's not subways, then there's some other floods coming to Sydney. Perhaps even flooded shoreline, which could be connected to a small tsunami wave, actually. So this is all coming to me now. Anything else, Spirit? Do you want to show me randomness? We love when the spirits are random. Well, they're random with me all day long. But usually once I have something written, and then they start speaking in my ear more stuff. Guys are a chatty bunch today. So subway tunnels, underground transportation systems, whatever they may be. One subway I had a vision of will flood due to major water main ruptures. Now, this could actually be in New York. Now, I also see flooded tunnels in France, other parts of Europe, especially the latter part of 2025, October through the end of 2025. And we can only hope that some of those tunnels would be the tunnels of the globalists, but I'm sure they have them sealed quite well with the trillions of dollars of our money that they took to build their underground city here in the United States. You heard about that one, right? I told you, I did a whole video on it. Safe zones, billionaire bunkers, and safe zones. Check it out, especially if you want to know the safe zones and the maps that have been channeled through of the future Earth and what's above water and what's no longer above water. So I would not rule out major transportation issues and more closures and airline delays hitting in July and August. Some are going to be blamed on the severe heat in some countries, while others are going to be from a multitude of problems and issues, from weather to concerns of even an airport or even a subway attack of some sort. 3 airports will be hit, says Spirits. That's likely connected to the conflicts between, the European conflict or India, Pakistan, maybe Israel. That would be the easy assumption anyway. But Spirit just said 3 airports will be hit. And that feels to me like hit like with missiles or something. But then I see something else happening in a subway system at an airport. Likely outside of this country anyway. And I feel I may be somewhere in Asia, actually, perhaps, with the subway system. And I saw a vision of folks in white and yellow hazmat-like suits going down the steps into a subway system. And that's where I feel like I might be somewhere in Asia. Some type of incident that happens either in China, Japan, some type of chemical spill or some type of chemical scare or something of that sort in the subway systems. Now, I know Japan has theirs really under control after they had an incident years back. And even like with their trash and everything, they're very, very organized to make sure that don't happen. So maybe China, because I see civil unrest coming to China, we'll have to see. I don't know if you can hear the frogs outside, but this is about the time they start to chirp. Really, really, really loud. They are really loud. What time is it? 4:49 p.m. Anyway, still on the subject of transportation, I see another issue occurring in a subway with a subway car. And I saw in my vision sparks, and then I saw smoke. So I don't know if it maybe went off the rail, went off the track or something, or if something else happened. Not sure. But I saw that followed by people being guided out of the tunnels with flashlights. So expect underground also power outages that also feel to me that they force subway riders again to walk through these dark tunnels to get out and get back into the light again. So big outages underneath the ground. This will go back to my predictions around outages, power outages, which is a big one I go thoroughly into in the top 6 predictions that will premiere later this week. Again, keep an eye out for it. Now, I see a large train derailment. And my concerns with this particular one was that it felt very toxic to me. It almost reminded me of what happened in Ohio, sort of. But it felt a little bit more out, like away from people, like out in the woods, or, it seemed like to me, it felt like it was hard for rescue people to get there. And that's what's even more concerning, because I feel like this whatever is on this load is spilling out, and it's not far from a body of water. And I'm not sure what country I'm in specifically, but I feel again that I'm a bit remote, and it takes a while for cleanup crews. Now, separately, I see some type of a fear-like, again, attack or takeover. Could even be like almost like a train robbery. Yeah, that's even better. Like a fear attack or takeover of a train system. I believe this is somewhere in Europe. Perhaps even in Germany. But somewhere in Europe. That'll be interesting. They're wearing masks. They have accents, very thick accents, maybe Middle Eastern. Interesting. Now, we're also going to be hearing so much more in the coming months around all forms of travel. But do not at all, friends, let this deter you from getting out and traveling to new destinations. Just always, again, know that deep down in your heart that you're going to be safe. Everything's going to be good on my trip. Just keep putting that out the universe, and always listen to your intuition, too, on top of that. Because if something suddenly tells you to stay home and skip the trip, then you so be it. Stay home and skip the trip. And then again, remember those windows of time. July into August. What was it? July 17th to August 11th, that window of time. That's just, and if you are traveling in that window, that's fine. Just expect there to be delays, because Mercury's notorious for delays and things breaking down. Like all of a sudden, the bus that you're taking breaks down. Just expect it. If it doesn't happen, better yet. Great trip then, all in all. And take short trips if you can, if you're going to travel anywhere in that window of time. Now, we saw another outage of a tower, control tower at an airport. This time it was not the Newark airport, which had happened multiple times there. This time it was the Denver airport, the notorious known conspiracy-ridden airport. I'm sure you watched videos on that. I almost did a video on that. But then they changed everything in there, and they put even creepier stuff inside that Denver airport. But they had a short outage of their flight control. Quite scary. And they tell us for the 3rd time in a row. It was only 90 seconds. How can all 3, especially at 2 separate airports, be exactly 90 seconds? I think somebody's pulling our leg here, friends. And how could, it just doesn't make sense. It's just weird. It's weird. 90 seconds for all 3 different airports. That feels very shady to me. How about you? Say the least. Shady, shady, shady. It's easy to now predict. Easy to predict. You don't even need to be psychic to predict this one. That we're going to be seeing this hitting other airports as well. not just in the United States, but global issues with airport communications. But fear not, my friends. Fear not. Wow, those frogs are loud. I'm sure you probably can't hear them with this microphone, though. But boy, they are loud. So fear not, my friends, because there is a much deeper reasoning behind the coming craziness of these travel nightmares. This is all going to lead to new forms of safer and even quicker forms of travel. And efficient travel, too, on top of that. And of course, some of this is going to be taken over by AI systems, and which, we're going to be told is much safer. Let AI drive you around. So AI creeps me out. And some certainly will be good. They will be, some AI is definitely going to be good in assisting us. But it does not mean that they still can't be hacked, friends. It doesn't mean that, when AI starts controlling everything, it can't be hacked in some way, in some form. And all these travel details and travel innovations are going to be amazing, actually, when we move towards the new Earth. New inventions, amazing new technologies that makes travel much more convenient, much more faster, and better for the environment. Now, if only the globalists, that built their $2.1 trillion city beneath our feet, if only they would let us use their secret underground magnetic high-speed rail system that they have that I talked about years and years ago. And just now this year, what's her name? Catherine, you saw her. I talked about it last week. She talked about the $2.1 trillion city they built for them, for the globalists, with our tax money. That's probably part of the money that was missing from, 2001. That was announced the day before, we'll say September 10th. Interesting enough. Bet you that's where something big majority of that money went. Because how long ago was that? That was 24 years ago. Yeah, that gives you plenty of time to take that money and build a giant underground city. And this high-speed magnetic rail line that goes hundreds of miles per hour, they have that under there. I saw that in visions way back, 2017, 2016. So wouldn't it be nice if they'd open that up for us? And then we, can travel not so far distances so quickly, just below the ground. And in the future, Spirit does show me that in the distant future, our travel will be mostly below the ground, below the waters, and of course, the sky is going to be the limit. So we won't really see like we do now. And this is distant future, Spirit said. So interesting times indeed, friends. Interesting times indeed. The fall of leaders and even the fall of previous leaders, apparently. This subject is a subject that I've been discussing for some time now. And since we began this discussion, so many leaders and former leaders have fallen from power, including Joe Biden. Trudeau, he finally got to go, even though Carney's worst, will be worst. But one's out, another one steps in. I feel like, actually, speaking of Carney, I feel like something's going to happen in that field. And that he might not end his reign his reign may end quicker than he expects. So again, spirits are chatty today, friends. Spirits are chatty. They've been chatty all day. I've been working on this since this morning. So, we've seen many leaders fall, and not even just that, even like leaders, CEOs and such. And now just over the weekend, we're hearing that Ice Cream Joe Biden has been diagnosed with a very aggressive form of the big C in the prostate. And I like to say big C. I don't like to call it by name. I don't like to feed it its energy. So, and then they said it moved into his bones now. Now that sounds like bad to me. When it moves, that's not good. No matter what, that's not good. In my opinion. Not that I'm a doctor or know anything. But I know many people in the family that had passed from it. Once it moves, it's usually not a good sign. Especially at 80-some years old, as Biden is. Now, the media, or Joe's team, perhaps, are they trying to, give folks hope by saying that it's not hormonal, I believe is what they said, or whatever they said, which makes it more treatable? That's what part of their claims were. But will they actually give JB the cure? Because we know they got one. Are they going to give it to him? Do you remember back when Jimmy Carter, because I remember talking about this when it happened, he had that very rare brain cancer with like a 90% fatality rate, and he was like 90 years old. And then months later, they announced it was all gone. 90 years old. High fatality, big C in the brain. Yeah. And he still lived, 9 years later? Wasn't he like 99 when he just passed? Almost 100? Or did he reach 100? I can't remember. So will JB be that lucky? Definitely not, friends. Definitely not. I tapped into Joe Biden's energy. Very, very. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It felt to me that she actually couldn't wait to move on. Almost like she couldn't wait. That Joe's like deeply under her skin for a long time now. Probably because she has to take care of them all the time. She don't have to. I mean, they can afford to have people do it. So I don't know. Maybe there's someone else. She just can't wait to move on to the next person. Who knows? But just when I tapped into her energy, it was not good. So perhaps, again, she's just playing the role again. JB happens to be a Scorpio, by the way, in his 4 personal year in numerology. Now, the 4 personal year was the same year that Queen Elizabeth was in when she passed away, back in September of 2022. Which I predicted in the beginning of that year. I'm like, she's going into her 4 vibration. She's not going to make it. Because if not, the 4, not that everybody passes in a 4. The 9 vibration's more common, actually. But the 4 is second most common. Remember, the 2020 bug was in a 4 year. Didn't mean you were going to get it. Just meant you needed to be mindful. It's a mindfulness around your health. Building stability and bringing stability into your life. So yeah, you can have huge positive health turns in your 4 year. He could be cured. He's in his 9 personal month right now, Biden, in his 4 year. The 9 month, of course, is all about endings and death of cycles, or the 9 vibration. So it could be very possible. It's very, very possible that they could get rid of the big C in Joe Biden by the end of this month. Very doubtful is my feeling. Because I feel like even more possible that Joe could even pass away. Joe Biden pass away by the end of May in his 9 vibrational month. Before the month comes to a close, they just told us he's sick and then all of a sudden he passes. I shouldn't be surprised by that. Or could he actually make it to his double 4s in September like Queen Elizabeth was? It was September. She was in her 4 year, her 4 month. She passed. So if Joe doesn't pass this month, he might make it till September, but I don't see him making it much further than that. And regardless, my feelings are that they don't want him hanging on. They meaning the globalists, maybe Obama. Obama don't like him anymore. I don't think Obama ever liked him. So he knows too much. Joe Biden knows too much. And, when you get old and you get senile, you start to blab things that they don't want him to blab. They don't want him to say anything. So, yeah, they're not giving him no cure. He knows too much, and he's a threat to their own truths in the future. We know that. He's a threat to even the Clintons especially. And this would all coincide with my past predictions of seeing a presidential funeral, 3 presidential funerals, which also came through in my channeled predictions recently. I think last week's or last month's, I forget which one, came up again. Usually when things come up again, it's because we're approaching that coming into fruition. And this was, I'm pretty sure it was last week's channel predictions. And now, right afterwards, we hear about Biden. I don't believe in coincidences, friends. Spirit reminds me of that in channel predictions. I post it, and 3 days later to be exact, we hear about Joe Biden. No, I don't have an insider. Nobody told me. The spirits are my insiders. The spirits are my insiders. Interesting, right? Interesting. So if you missed that, be sure to go back and check out those channel predictions. Now we had Jimmy Carter's presidential funeral. That was the first one, which was an obvious one, of course. That was the most obvious one. Didn't need to be psychic to figure out which one that would be. And it looks like Biden is definitely going to be the second one. But who could be the third one, friends? Spirit didn't tell us a timeline in between each one. So I would say however many months it is that the next presidential funeral happens from Carter's funeral will probably be how long after the next one is. Because I don't feel like they're necessarily back to back, but Spirit said 3 consecutive. And that's not something we see. I've never seen that in my lifetime. 3 consecutive presidential funerals, even within a 3-year period. So we will see. Now, potentially many of you in the comments, when I first mentioned this prediction over a year ago, maybe even a year and a half or 2 years ago, y'all thought Bill Clinton, which is also very possible. Bill Clinton happens to be in his 9-year of endings and death of cycles, and so is the same goes for the witch. I mean, his wife, her. She's also in her 9. Whereas my friend Bill, my friend Susie that passed, I forget what year she was in, not her 9, but Bill was, and he lost his wife, so it could go either way. Interesting. 9s are about endings, and new beginnings follow afterwards. So yeah, the Clintons could be faced. They could face those gates by the end of the year. And I'm not talking heaven's gates either. Not those gates, but the gates. Now, as far as current president, I just go back by what I said a while back. Way back in 2016, he'd served 2 terms, and I felt that he would pass right after his birthday, the 3rd year of his 2nd term, which now would be the year 2027. So that's 2 years out. So maybe Biden will hang in another year, or maybe Trump isn't one of the 3 in a row. I don't know. Time will soon tell. Time will soon tell. And I want to want you to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Spirit never gave us a detailed timeline again on these 3 funerals, so we can only guess that there will be distance between them. And secondly, there could also be one that happens. Jimmy Carter was at the end, December 29th, the end of last year. So could that be Biden, the end of this year, and then another one by the end of the following year, 2026? We'll have to see. We will have to see. Now, Joe Biden is a former leader. Eyes itchy. My eyes itchy, friends. Joe Biden, of course, is a former leader. So he no longer falls into the category of the fall of leaders, maybe the fall of previous leaders. He did fall out of power, however, in the beginning of this year in January. Now, I feel others are going to fall, coming leaders, whether they be leaders of countries, leaders of departments, like 3-letter agencies, for example, or in other countries, different leaders within the parliaments that are dropping out, maybe even senators here in this country that suddenly pass away. But we're going to see lots of people exiting when it comes to leadership roles. They don't have to be the leader, but leadership roles. Senators are leadership roles. Parliament members are leadership roles. It's going to be interesting. Spirit just said there will be a tax on parliament leaders. Yeah, which country? Multiple. Australia, United Kingdom. All right. Told you those spirits are chatty today. So, leaders falling out of power. Again, 3-letter agency leaders, it could be. Could even go into the corporate realm. Lots of corporate people. And which we're also going to lead to many exiting their positions. Again, stepping down from their positions. We just saw Klaus Schwab step down, right? We just saw the other billionaire guy. What's his name? Him step down. I can't remember his name. Don't really care either. But he just stepped down. So it's happening. What we need to hold in the light is that the people that replace their positions are for the good of all. Now, when it comes to Klaus and the other billionaire, no, it's just their kids taking their place. So no luck there. But we can still hold in the light that those that lead in leadership on the negative, who made pacts with the devil, they fall. And good goes into their place. The angelic frequencies go into their place. But in order to bring out all the corruption and bring out, everything, they have to still be in place because people are still blind. There's so many people that are still so asleep. So asleep. It's actually quite shocking to me. I've realized that. I thought more people were awake, but there certainly could be a lot more that need to awaken. So this is going to lead to not only, I feel, a great shaking that's going to come to the corporate realm, to corporations, maybe even Tesla, because that just popped in my brain, which is going to lead to many, again, exiting their positions with companies, and several are going to be arrested for fraud and other charges. I had visions of this before, and I continue to see visions. I see visions of federal agents going into a huge building in a city and taking somebody out in handcuffs. Reminds me sort of Bernie, what was his name? Can't think of his name. You know, the guy that took everybody's money. It's right at the tip of my tongue. Darn, can't stand when that happens. But you know, Bernie Madoff. It came to me. Anyway, yeah, Bernie Madoff. I see another one of them coming too. I see an arrest of somebody with that. That could be the building and the vision I just had. So this is going to, again, lead to arrests, a few being taken out. Like I said, being taken out, like somebody taking them out, kind of sadly like the healthcare worker CEO, Brian Thompson. We'll see more of that too. Now, I see some type of attempted attack coming on Jeff Bezos. Luckily for Jeff, he has chosen a darn good security team at the time of this attempted attack on him. I also see attacks on leaders of religious institutions and church leaders, and of course, another attempt on President Trump. I won't go into the details. I've talked about it since the last one last July. So when's that coming? Perhaps July. I told you July's going to be crazy. And it was July last year when they attempted to take out DT. That's 7 vibration. And this year, July is a 7. Last year, it was a 6. This year, it is a 7 vibration. Spiritual ascension, changing your beliefs, shifting your beliefs. Oh, yeah. Crazy, wild stuff. UFO stuff's coming in July. It's going to be wild, friends. Wild in a good way, in my opinion. As long as you don't plug into the chaos. Which brings me to the sick and demented post. Moving on to that you have all certainly seen by now. The IG post that Comey, who appears to be a very bitter and angry man for many reasons when it comes to our president anyway, posting this post. Cool shell formation on my beach walk with the numbers 8647. Almost like a lottery number you could play. Yeah, that formation you just happened to just form while you were walking on the beach. You formed that yourself for a photo opportunity. 86 is a term used. My eye is so itchy, I'm going to have to get up, put eye drops in. It's allergies. I had my doors open all day, that's why. My eye's probably all red. Excuse me, my apologies. So the 86 is a term used in 2 forms. It's used in the restaurant business because I worked in the fine dining and bartending for many years. And 86 is something we say when we're out of something. 86 the trout or 86 the special, meaning it's dead, no longer available. But 86 is also a term used by the mafia. Yes, it's code for taking them 8 miles out and putting them 6 feet under. 86. And that's more likely exactly what Comey was trying to say. 100%. So, to post 86 followed by a 47. 47 obviously represents the 47th current president, Trump, right? Together is obviously Comey is sending a very angry, cryptic message, loudly speaking of his desire for the president to be gone. Yeah, I bet. I think the president should come lock you up, is what I think. And, you know, it blows my mind. These people just blow my mind. And we all know that even our president actually knows exactly what was going on with this little post that he has now deleted, of course, and even Homeland Security is looking into it. And this was what President Trump had to say.
Exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent, but he was competent enough to know what that meant. And he did it for a reason, and he was hit so hard. Because people like me, they like what's happening with our country. Our country's become respected again, and all this. And he's calling for the assassination of the president.
Obviously, he apologized and said he did.
Well, he apologized because he was hit. Look, he's a very bad.
What do you want to see happen? What do you want to see happen?
I don't want to take a position on it because that's going to be up to Pam and all of the great people. But I will say this: I think it's a terrible thing.
See, he knew exactly what he was posting and pretty much straightforward saying in that post, not cool, Comey, not cool. And if that were any of us, friends, if that were any of us, they would have already come banging on our door and locked us up and probably threw away the key by now. Makes you wonder, don't it? Makes you wonder how these people continue to do stuff like this and get away with it. Well, it's just wild. Maybe Comey will slide through the cracks, maybe. But as more truth steps forward and less than smart moves like that one and other less than smart moves these corrupt individuals continue to make, it's only time before justice is going to reign across the globe over these people and many others. And speaking of justice, wow, Froggies, you are loud tonight. I should go put this outside so you can hear what they sound like. No time for that. What was I going to say? Oh, Comey. Maureen Comey, who happens to be Comey's daughter. Did you know that she is a lawyer who was part of the Epstein case, prosecution side? Look at how that all went away very quickly. She also was on the case of Ghislaine Maxwell. Look how that worked out. We got no truth, nothing. It was all hidden and secret. So Comey's definitely a part of that. And he's got his daughter covering it all up. And guess who else she's now representing in the prosecution? She's a prosecutor. But prosecutors can make sure that they don't prosecute, right? Yeah, she's on the Diddy case. So is Diddy going to walk? I doubt it, but they're going to hold a lot of truth from coming out. Of course, she's going to try anyway. But it's only not long before you're not going to be able to cover up any truth anymore. Comey, all your friends, and the illuminated ones, and so forth. And remember, this is a process. And the spirits remind us this is a process. It's going to take a lot of time to weed out all the corrupt weeds that have been growing like wild, taking over the forests along the way for many, many generations now. So it's been happening for way too long, friends. Generations, hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years. So we should call it generational corruption. That's what's happening on the planet, friends. It's generational corruption. And that type of corruption is not going to be welcomed into the new earth. The new earth is not going to allow anybody like that through those gates. So yes, friends, justice will prevail, I assure you. Justice will prevail. And so much dark corruption is yet to have been exposed. But soon, as the next season rings in, Spirit says, it'll be the season of justice, which rings in June 21st. Hold on tight, friends. It's going to be fun. Moving on to Mother Earth and the environmental unrest that seems to be happening, because it sure seems that the environment is once again moving into this unrestful cycle of time. In recent predictions, I saw visions of massive dust storms and unusual dust storms from here in the United States all the way over there to the Middle East. Many of you may recall that. I believe that was in my last weather prediction video, actually. And over the past week, this very rare and very quite large dust storm swept through Chicago on Friday. As the storm swept across Illinois, the vast wall of dust blanketed the sky and reduced visibility to near zero. Gusts of winds of over 50 miles an hour were reported at the airports. National Weather Service only ever issued a dust storm warning once before, and that was back in 2023. National Weather Service is going to be issuing a heck of a lot more of those, friends, in the near future. Crazy activities indeed. And we have not even seen anything yet, friends, in comparison to the strange dust storms that are going to be hitting across the globe. Here in Arizona, down there in Phoenix, and even parts of Tucson, and other parts of the mid and southwest here in the United States. I see dust storms hitting parts of Australia. And of course, in accordance to past predictions, I saw dust storms that were like hurricane dust storms. It was the weirdest thing I've seen before when it comes to dust storms anyway. And that's somewhere, I believe, in the Middle East. Whatever this storm is, this big one, they call it something. Someone said it in the comments. They call it something. But yeah, apparently it is a thing, just not a common thing. That'll become common, especially in the Middle East. Dubai is one of them. I see Dubai getting huge dust storms. Wild, wild, wild stuff. Mother Nature's fierce, baby, especially when she's not happy. And I'll have to work on actually a newer weather prediction video and look at the names of the hurricanes. I haven't done that yet this year. I forgot all about it, actually. And we're heading into hurricane season next month, so we'll have to take a look at that in June. But if you missed the last weather prediction video I did, be sure to check that out. Now, and last year I did at least two. It was the last one I did for the weather last year, which I think might have been around June, actually. Maybe I did a later one. I can't remember. But the last one I did map scrying, which I do often. Map scrying, and I did channeling in that one last year, too. But when I do map scrying, I pull up the map, basically go in my zone, and I get pulled to certain areas and certain things. And that's in the recent weather prediction video earlier this year, too, that I think I put out maybe in February. So one of them map scrying things that I did, I pointed to the west coast of the United States. Right along the ocean, when you're looking on the Earth, Google Earth, you can see that line. It almost looks like a square off the west coast of the United States near Oregon, stretching all the way up to Washington and down to Northern California. And I pointed to that line last year, and I felt that there was something big along that line that was going to occur, and I felt a huge shaking under the water and predicted a large underwater volcanic eruption. Multiple in the Pacific this year coming up. Now experts and even media outlets over the past week, especially I noticed this, it's all over social media, they're pushing this narrative that this massive underwater volcano off the coast, right where I pointed, off the coast of Oregon, is about to erupt. And at least 10,000 earthquakes will follow. You know how it is when they put out warnings. This makes, a lot of sense to my visions. It makes sense to my channel predictions where I saw a huge blast coming out of the ocean like a bomb, but I specifically said it wasn't a bomb. Had to be volcanic related. Coming out of the Pacific Ocean, too. There was also that other area of the Pacific Ocean that I also pointed to in my channel predictions going back from last year. And it was another line that I was pulled to underneath the water. And that is closer to the area of Japan and the Philippines. And I feel that particular one will go off in early July. I believe it was July 4th was the date that I gave Toya when he came here from Japan to interview me. But what about the one on the west coast of the United States? So which one will it be? And when? As I stated in the past, I felt it would cause a ripple effect. I felt like one, causes this ripple effect amongst the plates and underground. The largest quake of our time, I also said, would ignite a blast from the Pacific, in turn triggering volcanoes and earthquakes across the globe. But here is where it gets kind of a bit disturbing, in my opinion. In recent connections with my guides, anyway, they gave me this overwhelming feeling that this is a planned event. The one on the East Coast, anyway. West Coast of the United States, I mean. Not the East Coast. East Coast just came out of my mouth, I hope, not the East Coast. But they made me feel that this is a planned event. What does that mean exactly? A manipulation of some sort of the sea and of the earth? And actually, the stronger feeling I got from the spirits this morning was that China, along with some of the globalists, have technology to trigger such an event, except it will also trigger more than what they can bargain for because it will cause a ripple effect. Not right away either. Months apart. Some right away, some months apart. So I feel something strong is hitting in the end of this month. Perhaps maybe on or right around the very end, the 27th of May. A couple days before, a couple days after. 27, which is also a 9. Not that that's value. We don't really look at the days. We look at the months. Potential, but that date jumped out at me. A large quake, perhaps the 3 massive volcanic eruptions that I also saw in past visions. Maybe they begin right around late May, because that's where Spirit said it would all start beginning with the volcanic eruptions. Could one be Mount St. Helens, as per past visions as well? I also saw in past visions That this would begin maybe in late May. Something was happening around late May. Or these strange people walking down my street, listening to the frogs probably. They probably came to hear the frogs. They are quite loud. They loud the neighborhood. My neighbors probably don't like me because the frogs are so loud. I didn't put them there. I just went out and said, frog spirits, come to my pond. And a week later, they showed up. No lie. That was a couple years ago. Now they come back every year. So I have been pulled to the month of July again in August for global unrest and earth events since late last year. That is the time that we really need to watch closely. And again, even the end of this month. And at the same time, I wouldn't rule out at all that something could really blow on the west coast of the United States very soon. Perhaps again, being by the end of this month, being the media is pushing out this narrative so strongly. Remember when France and part of Europe pushed out the narrative to prepare for power outages and have their little bags ready with flashlights and all these things to keep you, good for at least 3 days? And what happened not long after the media over there pushed out that narrative? We all know what happened. Massive blackouts. They didn't last 3 days, but I'm sure the next ones will. Now, Greece is another place I pointed to on the map and talked about earthquakes in that area and even a big volcanic eruption over there near the Mediterranean. Well, they did have a 6.3 over the past week. And speaking of China, China had a very large earthquake. I don't know what the magnitude was, but I know the shake was pretty bad over the past week, causing tons of crumbling of structures and even rescue efforts. Remember what Spirit told us? China was about to get hit hard with earthquakes and other weather events. And perhaps, this is Mother Nature herself warning China to stop moving forward with their plans. Just a thought. Now remember, Spirit said that WW3 was a new type of conflict and that it was already happening, but just not in a way that we would think it was happening. And I feel weather, manipulating things and other technologies that manipulate things or cause things to happen, even the dews, the mountain dews that we talked about. If you don't know what a dew is, just type it in on Google. You'll find out. And maybe that's what Spirit was really referring to. Makes more sense. We can throw cyber attacks into that mix too, being a big part of it. Because we know China has hacked into the United States infrastructure constantly over the past 2 years. All those tests, remember? Yeah, they're preparing. I told you China has a plan in their mind. Now, earthquake activity has been actually quite quiet, but not for much longer. Oh, yes. And interesting as this may be, during the so-called peace negotiations that were happening in Turkey between Russia and Ukraine, the ones that Putin didn't show up for, he totally dissed. Well, while they were having those peace negotiations, there was an earthquake right there in Turkey that shook things up a little bit, just a little bit, but enough to be like, Mother Earth's trying to tell you something here. Make peace, make love, not war. Yep. I think that the leaders need to really listen to closely what Mother Earth's trying to tell them. When Mother Earth is warning you, you should listen. And I would not be at all surprised, friends, that a major earthquake hits Russia in the near future. Perhaps a major earthquake hitting Moscow in the very near future. I am way past time at this point. I've been here for a while talking to y'all. So being on way past time. And I have so much more I would love to talk to you about, but I don't want to go too far because people don't watch really long videos. I just wanted to point out another thing. Project Veritas, do you know what that is? The O'Keefe Media Project or the O'Keefe Media. The guy does amazing work, actually. And one of the things I just noticed on my feed is that he just started posting very short. I guess he's, other stuff's behind a paywall. I don't go behind paywalls. But he started posting insider information of St. James Island. Jeffrey's place. We've seen the outside of the island. We've seen people, on social media go and sneak onto that island. But we have yet to see footage inside the house until now. This is what truth said. Spirit said truth and things being revealed and things coming out. So they're hiding all that. Like I said, Maureen Comey's daughter, is the prosecutor behind all these cases that should be giving us the information and not hiding it. All these big cases, she's behind. That's just a little shady there, friends. And I didn't know that until just recently. I said, wow. So anyway, O'Keefe Media showed the inside of the former home of Epstein in several different videos. I haven't looked recently. I've been working, putting all this together for you beautiful souls. But I'm sure there's probably a new one. They're all short, but interesting. You want to go look. It's very interesting stuff there. I can't show you here because it's probably his, copywritten stuff. Go to his page. Just type in O'Keefe. It'll come right up. As soon as you put in OK, it'll come right up. O''K. It'll come right up. Or Project Veritas. I think it'll come up under that too. But that guy is putting himself in grave danger by doing these things. He is a true journalist. And there is so much more yet to come when it comes to even the Epstein case. They're hiding it, but they can't hide it forever. Even the Combs case. And even better yet, more cases that are soon going to come into the light. I see a huge law enforcement bust that's going to lead officials to the doorsteps of many well-known people, including people in Hollywood. And it's happening, friends. It is happening. We just aren't really hearing all about it quite yet. But we shall, because it is happening. All right, moving right along, I have a couple predictions to add into this mix. And remember, I have a whole full top 6 predictions, top 6 subjects, but lots of predictions interweaved in a premiere video later this week. So I had this strangest vision of some type of government vehicle and SUV. There were a couple in a line going, at a good speed. They had dark tinted windows. There were government plates. This felt United States to me. I mean, I could be wrong, but it felt like that kind of government, but definitely government. And I guess they use these dark tinted vehicles and SUVs in other countries too. But I saw them driving, and then I saw them being shot upon while driving down the road, as if somebody was in a high off place shooting towards these vehicles. And then I hear 2, so I'm assuming that there's 2 shooters. I cannot tell who or, if someone important is in those vehicles. I imagine so if they're being shot upon, or at least the shooters think somebody important's in the vehicle. I hear in my vision glass break, but it didn't sound like windshield glass. It sounded more like they hit the headlight or the taillights of the vehicle. And I feel that this is, again, either in the United States, perhaps somewhere in Europe. This could be in Europe too, but likely within the United States. And another interesting thing that I got was that something huge is coming out of China on multiple huge things, actually. Starting with major civil unrest that's going to hit the CCP like Babe Ruth hitting a baseball. Home run, baby. And I see some truths coming out from China. And truth being revealed around some of their secret military weapons, probably because they're going to use them and then we're going to know. And even leaked plans. Leaked military plans, which should be really interesting. I don't know how they're being leaked, but leaked plans. And perhaps, maybe, we will also get to discover their true population. Because if you haven't looked or haven't heard, look into the population of China and what's really going on and all the people that are disappearing. Millions. Maybe we'll find out where they disappeared to. We can only hope. Now let me move on to answering a few of your tribal questions that were posted. I can't get to them all because we're past time. But in New Zealand, this comes from Tony. In New Zealand, we have skies full of spider webs galore. Is this natural or is it nanotechnology with bugs attached to them? I'm unsure. I don't know. I don't live in New Zealand, but I know that we have that naturally occurring here in Arizona every year. First time I saw it, I thought it was bizarre, and I thought the same thing. Is this being done to us? And then I did some research and found out it's a natural thing that happens here all the time. Not all the time, but every year. And I just saw it recently. I was outside. I was looking up at the sun, and you could see all the glistening of the spider webs. And apparently that's how they follow the wind. So it's a natural thing. It's not nanotech. It's definitely a thing that happens with spiders, which I think is really cool. Because, spiders, we get tarantulas here. Not so much up here in the canyon. It's a little chilly. Oh, I've seen a few here, but I love the tarantulas. They're so freaking cool. Next one is, what do you think of the trade-off deal between China and us? Do you think it's real or it will collapse? So much is happening with the collapsing of the systems and everything's going to change. And remember, DT only put that on there. President Trump only did that for 90 days, I believe. So there's still going to be back and forth. I still saw visions of shortages and such. It's not all going to get worked out right away, but it will all get worked out. That's the good point. And then finally, here in the United States, we won't be getting the crappy end of the stick like we have for so long now. Do you see anything about transite pipes? These are the water pipes that were installed 60 to 70 years ago and made of asbestos in the mix. I just feel this is a huge danger to many people. It terrified me when I found out the government allows 7 million fibers per liter of water. Yes, 7 million fibers. You can Google that, says this person. So these pipes were only meant to last 70 years, and it's a long one. I'm not going to read it all. What are we, Brockway, Pennsylvania, for the asbestos in the water they found because car washes, filters. Yeah, well, that's a big focus. Again, going back to waters. Part of the waters doesn't mean incidents on water or below water and all of what I spoke about earlier. Waters are a big focus in general. Water is life. We're going to see, remember Standing Rock Reservation back in the day. Go find my video, Black Snake Prophecy. It's got 500,000 views, actually. My most popular video. It was back then anyway. They were fighting over the pipeline going underneath the river, the waters. So we're probably going to see this coming into fruition too soon. A fight over pipelines and water, and even pipelines leaking into water systems. So, and you're talking about the asbestos in the water. Yeah, all these things are a part of being addressed before in the future we put new systems in place. And where you're at, my vibe is that, again, it's all because they're taking the money and doing what they want with it instead of putting it into the infrastructure like it needs to be. And then you're going to see many people replacing the pipes on their own property themselves. The thing is, it's still coming in from public water, and that's going to be a big focus in the near future, is public water is toxic. The stuff they put into it, the chemicals and so forth. And then we're seeing that in the United States with them taking the fluoride out of the water. And some states actually rolling to have it taken out, like Utah, for example. I forget who else, Florida maybe. But that's going to continue. So yeah, it's a focus. You're aware of it now. That's the first key to fixing things, is the awareness. Soon after, they'll start to fix things. Someone asked, is the dead coming back? Any updates? So I had a vision, I don't know, that was like 2 years ago. Maybe. Spirit said the dead, and all I got was the dead will rise and be alive again. We have not seen this yet. Some predictions take 2 to 3 years to fall into place, but it's still on the table very strongly. The dead will rise and be alive again. And I think that will be related to people that we thought were dead, like say Elvis Presley, and then all of a sudden we find out they were alive. That's where we're going. And it's going to be multiple. It's going to be quite a few. And with that, I'm going to have to leave you with that because I don't want to go way over time. And my battery is about to die on my camera. So I very much hope that you enjoyed this edition of Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time for Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Please do click that thumbs up love button, friends. Don't forget to keep an eye out for the top 6 major predictions video that will premiere later this week. I still got to record it, but it's all done, ready to go. Lots of thorough stuff, lots of thorough predictions to feed your prediction addiction in that video. Thank you to all the supporters who make this free content possible for everybody else. I thank you with infinite love and gratitude. Thank you for contributions. And if you're new to the tribe, welcome to the tribe, baby. We welcome you with open air hugs, team spirit. Until the next time, friends, remember to be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Let your light shine ever so brightly. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste and much love, friends. Much love.